Hi, this is Philip Briggs with Productive Egg, and today we're talking about how can we improve the number of tests completed at the Dognation business. First of all, let's talk about waterfalls. Imagine you're floating down a river and everything is peaceful. Then you start to hear a murmuring. The murmuring then becomes louder and louder until finally it becomes a roar. That's when you notice you're heading for a big waterfall. You're in for a big drop. That big drop-off is what I noticed in the Dognation data set. And after seeing the drop-offs, the question became, when were they occurring and how can we avoid them? First of all, when are the drop-offs occurring? As we can see from this graph, in each subcategory, people are pretty good about finishing all the tests in the subcategory. The big drop-off is occurring after the subcategory is finished. And this led to the question, what's the difference between people who go ahead and finish all 20 tests versus those who don't? And how is that being affected by this drop-off after subcategory? When looking at that, we can see that in a subcategory, people who sign up and finish the 20 tests tend to finish all the tests in the subcategory within 1 day. And in the average, it's not much difference. People who completed all 20 tests finished the tests in empathy within about a day. Those who did not complete all 20 tests finished all the tests in the subcategory of empathy in about a day and a half. When we looked at the next subcategory, communication, again, we're seeing similar things between those who completed all 20 tests versus those who don't. But we can start to see for the average times, the people who are completing it are finishing them within a shorter time period than those who didn't complete all 20 tests. This became even more apparent in the cunning subcategory. We can see the people who completed all 20 tests had a median time of completion of about 2 days versus those who did not complete all 20 tests had a median time of completing this in about 5 days. The average is even greater with the people who completed all 20 tests about 10 days and those who didn't took about 23 days. And we can see in the memory category the time of tests between those who completed and between starting the program had a median finishing time of about 4 days. Those who did not complete had a median time of about 8 days. And the average time was about 17 days for those who completed all 20 tests versus about 36 days for those who did not. And so this leads us to the first goal, which is to stop the drop-offs. The goal number 1 is to stop the drop-offs, and one way we can suggest doing this is by getting customers moving from a finished subcategory into the next subcategory as quickly as possible by strategically using reminders. So that begs the question, when should we send these reminders? When looking at when people were performing these tests, we can see that most of the tests are being completed between 3 o'clock and about 8 o'clock at night. And so it looks like people are coming home from work, and a way of spending time with their dogs is to do these tests. But is there a difference between the people who are completing more tests versus those who are not? Comparing those, we can see that those who completed 11 tests had the same peak time through each subcategory. But those who did not complete quickly dropped off in that peak time period. And so one of the things that we're suggesting is making sure we have the timing of these reminders correct. And we suggest that customers who complete all 20 tests tend to perform those tests in the afternoon after work. And we need to find out if those who drop off need encouragement to complete the test at this time, or do we need to encourage them to perform the test at another time? And these two goals lead to our recommendations. Recommendation number 1 is to create a bridge to stop the drop-offs. And we suggest doing this by encouraging people to complete tests more quickly by sending reminders soon after completing each test subcategory. And this will help get customers moving from a finished subcategory to the next as quickly as possible by using strategic reminders. And then we suggest sending these reminders at the right times. And we are suggesting 2 tests. One is to send a reminder to coincide with those evening peak periods. So people going home from work can be reminded to, hey, go spend time with your dogs after work by doing these tests. But we also suggest sending reminders to test groups for morning to see if an earlier time period works better for them, and if this encourages them to finish more of those 20 tests. By doing these 2 recommendations, we're hoping to turn that waterfall drop-off into willing jumps by the customers. These 2 recommendations are designed to help avoid the drop-off. Instead of flowing down the river unaware of when these waterfall drop-offs are happening, we know that when the drop-offs are happening at the end of each of these subcategories. Because of that knowledge, we can design strategic interventions to counteract the drop-off and turn it into a jump for the customers. So instead of customers running into a drop-off after the subcategory of tests, we can create a way for them to jump into the next series of tests and help them look forward to that jump. And by doing this, we think that we can help people finish more and more of those 20 tests through the Dognation test